Foot shot, backhand, spin, deep, stick handle between the legs. Blocker, angle cut off by Dryden. Glove save. Steve Dryden, get to there, makes it look easy. Oh my God, how did he stop that one from going in? Over to Ferguson, shot, score! Canadians call up a new goaltender from their farm club. Originally from Hamilton, Ontario, Ken Dryden debuts in a game against the Pittsburgh Penguins and leads the team to a 5-1 victory, followed by a string of 5 consecutive victories. Now, this is no ordinary.
Okay, you're looking at Beyond Ken Dryden, now playing at Soul Pepper Theatre through June 1st. It's a powerful solo show written by acclaimed playwright Oren Safdie. The play explores a young boy's idolization of hockey legend Ken Dryden amidst the political and personal upheavals of 1970s Montreal. We're delighted to have Oren Safdie joining us live now in the studio with more on his one-man solo play Beyond Ken Dryden. Oren, great to see you. Congratulations on this work of art. It had a great run in Montreal. The play is called Beyond Ken Dryden, but let's, be honest, Ken Dryden's still very much in it. So what does he represent to you in the context of your childhood and this show?
Well, I think, to go back to the title, Beyond Ken Dryden was in some ways what he did for the city of Montreal at the time, which was experiencing a lot of upheaval with Quebec separatism. And in my personal life in the 70s, it was not the most stable time for families. It was sort of like the post-1960s free love era where all the families were divorcing because of that.
Right.
So I felt like there was one thing about Ken Dryden. He was such a great player that brought the Canadians to win 6 Stanley Cups in 8 years. And it didn't really matter for the Canadians if you spoke French or English during that time of separation. It just brought the whole city together, and I think it sustained us through this very tumultuous time.
Yeah, and it was a sustaining force for you. You wrote that he represented everything you wanted to hold on to: consistency, strength, family, and he was really your touchstone in this world around you that was unraveling.
Yeah.
Oren, you grew up inside the iconic Habitat 67, designed by your father, Moshe Safdie. I mean, at this time, most kids are building forts out of couch cushions, but you're living inside this global architectural landmark. So how did that shape your sense of identity, or did it just make you the coolest kid on the block?
Well, I knew everybody in the building because I was the paper boy. And if you could imagine in a Habitat, which is all these different floors, I had to deliver 125 Montreal Gazettes every morning at 6 a.m.
Wow.
And I had this system where I'd wrap elastics around the papers and I'd throw them like from the 2nd floor to the 5th floor, and I'd take this carriage. And then I was a tennis pro at the tennis court, so I knew everybody, and it was very much like a family. And then also I would have to show dignitaries around because my father would travel a lot, and he'd say, oh, this person's coming in from so-and-so, can you show them the building? Once even had to give a tour to Indira Gandhi, the Prime Minister of India. I mean, my father was there for that.
Right.
But I was there, and there were a lot of things like that. So it was... it was an interesting place to be and to grow up, and it did form me a lot.
Yeah. That kind of sounds like my experience in Beijing, living in this complex that was just all foreigners. It really brought people together. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And, this show really dives into some deeply personal issues and themes: your family upheaval, political tension, your parents' divorce. So did writing this play give you a sense of catharsis, or was it kind of mildly traumatic?
Well, I think as I've gotten older, I seem to be reflecting further and further back. Like maybe my next play will be with my time in my mother's womb or something. I don't know. But it just has that way of looking back. And I realized it was a great childhood, and it was also a troubled childhood, and those two can coexist. And Ken Dryden and the Canadians was the thing that kind of wrapped the whole thing together. And every time I write, I'm trying to find a certain inner truth, find the facts, because everybody has their own version of what happens.
For sure.
And then you start to believe their version. It's like, no, this happened. And so, yes, writing this play, I'm always trying to find my truth and hold on to that.
Yeah, and you draw inspiration from the famous children's book, The Hockey Sweater, a classic piece of Quebecois culture written by your stepfather, Roch Carrier. So what was it like blending that kind of mythology with your own personal mythology?
Well, that's definitely a mythic book, and he has that amazing voice giving the animation version of that. So I just realized, Maurice Richard Rocket was so important in his life, and I think it just kind of triggered in me as like, I have my own version. It's not as sort of the same way his little folkloric town in Quebec is, and I'm in Montreal, but there's something there that I wanted to continue, and I see the effect. He came when I was living in Los Angeles. He read the story to these grade 3 students in Los Angeles, and they were enraptured by it. And it's universal. And so even though this is about Montreal and Canadians, I think Toronto fans will relate. Like tonight, big game tonight. I think they should look at the 1971 series with the Boston Bruins, where the Canadians were down and out in the 5th game, lost 8-3. They came back and they won the Stanley Cup that year. So I do see a lot of parallels with this team, and hopefully this 1971 Canadians.
Hopefully the Leafs can win it tonight. So how timely.
Yeah, I think if they win tonight, they win the Stanley Cup.
Yeah. Okay, we hope your
That's
prediction is right, and we do hope they win. Oren Safdie,
Yes.
Such a pleasure meeting you.
You
Go
too.
catch his play, Beyond Ken Dryden, now playing at Soul Pepper Theater, running from yesterday through to June 1st. What a pleasure meeting you. Thank
and also a really excellent actor, Max Katz, is in the lead role. So,
yes. Okay, I wish we had time to get into why you chose him, but he looks great from what I can see.